first official day of van life. So yesterday we picked up the van, did some grocery shopping, and took care of a few errands in Vancouver. Then last night we drove up on the Sea to Sky Highway through Squamish, Whistler, and found a harvest host who was willing to let us just park up in their parking lot. Yesterday was a Saturday, and I don't know what was going on, but literally every single campsite in this part of British Columbia was booked up, so that was what we did. Right now we are on a mission to find some coffee because the stove that came with our van is missing a part, so we can't use it. That is high on our priority list to fix today, but first things first, let's get our caffeine. Alright, now that we've got coffee, we're going to begin our road trip. So let me really fast tell you what our plan is. We are driving up to the Yukon to do something that both Dennis and I have wanted to do literally for years. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but it's actually a surprisingly long way up to the Yukon. I think it's going to take us 5 more days of driving to get up there. So today we're on our way to a town called Williams Lake. In Williams Lake, there is a Walmart, so we'll be able to get the part that we're missing to use our stove, but that's also about where we're going to stay for the night. So, let's get driving. Alright, so we weren't able to find a replacement for the part that was broken, but we did just get a whole new stove. While we were at this Canadian Tire superstore, there was a poutine place just in the parking lot, so of course we had to stop and get our first poutine of the trip. We've arrived at our campsite for the night. We're staying here at the Hotsool Heritage Village. It is a First Nation settlement / recreation of what traditional housing would have looked like. They let you stay here $15 a night per vehicle, so this is where we're camping. So dinner tonight is a poor man's sundubu. It actually tastes pretty good considering we just made it on a camp stove. Good morning. Today we're continuing northward to the town of Smithers, and I'm actually really excited to see Smithers. It's supposed to be like a cute little town with a lot of hiking options nearby. Unfortunately, it is a 6-hour drive. So tried to get an early start, but early for us means something a little later than early for most people. So we'll see what time we get there. Well, after a good 6 hours of driving, we finally made it to Smithers. There is a lot of stuff to do around here, but we're here quite late in the day. So we're just going to do a quick walk to the Twin Falls viewing platform. Well, that was the little walk to the Twin Falls viewing platform. There is a longer hike that starts from back here that's supposed to lead to a really beautiful viewpoint. Like I mentioned though, it's like almost 5 p.m. so I think that's a little much for us today. Smithers is definitely one of those places that I wish we had time to explore a little bit more. Tonight we're staying at an RV park in Smithers, but since we're here we thought we would just walk around a little downtown and see what's around. After stopping in town for one of the local beers, we came to the campsite, which is the Riverside campsite in Smithers. It is much nicer than we were expecting, but we're here pretty late, so straight on to making dinner.
Start it up.
campsite we found turned out to be super, super nice. We are backed up right on the lake. Jaeger is off playing ball already in the lake. Even though it's cold, I'm gonna go jump in. So you might be wondering, how are we finding campsites? I actually did quite a lot of planning before this trip, and so this was like one of the few sites that we didn't actually plan for. Mostly we've been using the app iOverlander. This is just an app that has campsite locations marked. There are sort of different levels where you can either have like stealth campsites on the side of the road or like full service RV parks and everything in between. So when we were driving today, we were looking just at the iOverlander route of where we were going and seeing what was available, and that's kind of how we decided to stop here and check and see if we could get a spot. We did reserve a lot of sites through Parks Canada, which is National Park Service of Canada. Dinner tonight is chicken ramen. You might have noticed when we were cooking that we had a little bit of problems with the chicken. I guess I have much more control over the temperature of my stove at home, so I didn't notice the chicken getting burnt, but it was skin on, so salvageable. Okay, so since we're here at this beautiful campsite and it's such a beautiful day, let's do a quick tour of the van. So first, just a quick shout out. We rented this van from Karma Camper Vans. They have offices in Vancouver and Calgary. All right, let's check out inside. So the first and most obvious thing is, of course, the bed. There is a full double bed back here. It's super comfy. You can see along the sides there's shelving on top, but also down below, more storage space down here as well. Way in the back, you can see there's currently lights turned on. Those can be operated from here, but also from the switch way in the back by where you're sleeping. Right in front of the bed, you can see we've set up this little space to be the dog bed area, but underneath we've got this board that flips open, revealing the fridge. It is powered by the van's battery, and underneath the other side, we've got our cooler. This is just a normal cooler, nothing fancy, no electronics. Then we can check out the kitchen area. So first things first, you can see there is plenty of storage space. We've utilized these cabinets to be sort of our pantry, and these cabinets are storing our dishware. Here we've got cutlery. This is the area where our pots and pans are stored. And then we've utilized these for camping food, and then miscellaneous like shampoo, conditioner, soap. Moving on, the really cool thing about this camper van, which is totally different from anything I've ever used before, is that we've got a fully functional sink. So, once we flip on the phone, we're currently out of water, but the sink does work once you fill up the water. Down here you can see where fresh water and gray water is stored. Moving on, up in here in the front of the car, we've got all the normal car stuff. So driver's seat, driver's wheel, full dashboard, nothing fancy, just a car. But the really cool thing is just how many cup holders there are. There are at least 8 cup holders in the front. Maybe there's more I haven't found, but there is just so much space for storing so many bottles and beverages. Of course, you might still be wondering, where is our luggage? So let's move on to the back. So underneath the bed, there is of course so much more space, and this is where we're storing everything. You can tell that it's not super organized because I do follow the philosophy out of sight, out of mind. Everything else that we need is down here. All right, that is the whole van tour. Good morning. So far it's looking like another beautiful day. While we've been driving north through British Columbia, there's actually been a massive heat wave. So what that means for us is temperatures are getting up to like 25 degrees Celsius. I think that's like 80s in Fahrenheit. But that means we've had mostly blue skies, which is very uncommon to see so many days in a row up here. The weather will return to normal next week when we're in the Yukon.
Start it up.
Since this is my first time trying the van life thing, I wasn't sure how much I was going to like living in a van. So just to break up the experience a little bit, I also booked just a few non-van options, just in case things were getting a little cramped in the car, give us a little space, maybe take a nice shower. So here in the northern part of the Stewart-Cassiar Highway, we're actually staying at this rustic cabin called Vines and Puppies. I found this on Hip Camp, and it's a cute little A-frame right on the lake. It's absolutely adorable. Since we're staying right on this beautiful lake, I really have no choice but to go take a quick dip, even though I know it will be too cold for me to spend any more than just a few seconds in there. It's good for the blood. Well, it was super refreshing to take a dip in the lake, although I just cannot handle the cold for more than a few seconds. But now that I'm dry and warm, let me give you a quick tour of this place because it is super cute. Alright, so once you enter, there's immediately this big room, living room, kitchen, fireplace. If we go to the back, then there's a tiny bathroom that has a shower, and the shower actually has warm water, believe it or not, even though this place is off the grid. Then you might be wondering, where is the bed? Well, there is still an upstairs. And up here, we've got another tiny room with a bed and another deck. You might be wondering, where is the bathroom? Well, there is an outhouse with a drop toilet just around side of the house. Since it is daylight, probably 18 to 20 hours of the day, it is no problem getting to the bathroom in the summertime at all. Seems like the rain finally caught up with us. Our last day in British Columbia is a bit overcast and wet. We've got about 90 more miles on the Stewart-Cassiar Highway before we meet up with the Alaska Highway and enter the Yukon. We made it to the Yukon, and now we're driving on the world famous Alaska Highway. We're going to spend a lot more time on the Alaska Highway later on our road trip, but we're still going to do a few touristy things while we're here. And our first stop is the Carcross Desert, billing itself as the world's smallest desert. If you're at all familiar with any actual deserts, I'm sure you've already guessed this is not actually a desert. They just call it a desert. What this actually is a dune field sitting on top of an ancient lake bed that was left behind after the glacial retreat after the Big Ice Age. Still, this was a 45-minute detour off the Alaska Highway, and I would say well worth the stop. Very cool to see. Well, it took 6 days of driving, but I have officially made it to the Yukon. Now I feel like the real adventure begins. So here's the plan moving forward. Tomorrow we're headed to Kluane National Park, one of the largest wilderness areas in Canada, where we're gonna just do a day hike and hang out over there. Then we're gonna drive up through the Klondike Highway onto the Dempster Highway into Tombstone Territorial Park to do a 4-night backpacking trip in the Tombstones. After that, we're gonna drive back down to Whitehorse and take the Alaska Highway south to the Canadian Rockies, where we'll do 2 more backpacking trips, the Skyline Trail and the Rockwall Trail. So far, this has been a really exciting start to van life, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And I'll see you next time.